Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me here at Unapologetically Progressive. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the case of Mahmoud versus Taylor. Now, this is a case that comes out of Maryland, Montgomery County, exactly, in Maryland, a very diverse, probably the most diverse county in the state and one of the more diverse counties in the country. But the school district decided they were going to start reading these books that had LGBT plus characters in it. Right. And most of them were books that involved like a dog, a book called Pride Puppy. There was another one about some mice, and there was another one called Uncle Bobby's Wedding, I believe it was, that they even read from at the Supreme Court. Now, these books aren't explicit in any way. They just simply have characters that happen to be part of the LGBTQ community or characters supporting the LGBTQ community. And so the question I have is, does a character in a book being gay or part of the LGBTQ community, does that count as burdening your civil rights, your freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, or anything like that? I don't think it does. The Supreme Court's probably going to rule differently because they're conservatives and they don't use logic. But my only concern, honestly, is whether or not this is going to be a sweeping ruling or if it's going to be a ruling that says, hey, parents, if it has anything to do with sexual orientation or sexuality at all, get to opt out of it. That's what I'm hoping for, and I'll get to my opinion in just a minute. But in 2022, Montgomery Public Schools in Maryland started reading these books. And they were fine. You know, the books were fine. You had the ability to opt out. So some parents, I'm sure, opted out. But by 2023, 2024, they weren't there anymore. Those options to opt out were gone because the school found it to be like a burden on them to be able to do these opt-outs. Now, I kind of side with the parents to a point, right? I think parents should have the right to dictate what their children are read, right? Or what books they are assigned to read. But the thing is, the argument the parents are making is that this burdens their ability and burdens their ability to raise their children with their religious backgrounds and their religious beliefs, and it's a burden on their religious freedoms, right? I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's what you're looking at here, because I do not believe that a character that is gay or a character that is supporting, members of the LGBTQ community, I don't think that is inherently a burden on your religious beliefs. No one's punishing you. No one's hurting you. Right? But the Supreme Court's not going to rule that way because it's run by conservatives. I hope they rule with a reasonable ruling, though, right? But I do agree that parents should have more control over what is read in class. Now, these books, since they are not sexual in nature, I do believe they should be available in the classroom for kids to read. I believe they should be available in the school libraries for kids to check them out. I'm absolutely against any kind of book being in the classroom or in the library of a school, of a K through 12 school, that is sexually explicit. Like, I cannot get behind that. I do not support that. In this case, though, I support these books being in the classroom, but I do not support parents not being able to opt their children out of them. So if it involves like sex ed, if it involves, sexuality of any kind, maybe parents should get to opt out. But I think there should be a limit to that. Right? You shouldn't be able to opt out of mathematics, other literatures, other literature that's not about relationships. But maybe there are some books that should be pulled out and not allowed to be read either. Romeo and Juliet, maybe. Because that was one of the most scarring books I read. because of the material. But if we don't want to be supposedly indoctrinating children, and books like these, like a dog going to a pride parade, are problematic, then books like Romeo and Juliet and other books that focus on, heterosexual relationships, maybe, just maybe, those shouldn't be read in class either. But all in all, I believe that parents should be able to opt their kids out of things like this. Now, we all know that reading a book with a gay character in it or having a book read to you that has a gay character in it, it's not going to make you gay. It's not going to make you trans or anything else. It's just going to make you understand that other people exist in this world that aren't like you. So where I agree with that parents should have the ability to opt out, I do not believe parents should be able to dictate the curriculum of a school. I don't believe most parents are going to care if their kids see a book or have a book read to them that involves a LGBTQ character. I don't think most parents are going to care about that. I think it's going to be a very small minority of people that are going to care about that. But that said, that's where I stand on the issue. I do believe parents should have the ability to opt out of sexually, anything that has to do with sexuality or anything sexually, explicit being taught in the classroom. If they want to opt their children out of that, just like they have sex ed and other things, then they should be able to do that over reading these books. But overall, I believe these books have a place. They serve a good purpose, and I think it's important that these stories get told. That these kids find out, you know, that it's okay for people to be different than you, and I think that's important. It's one of the most important things I think you can teach a child. But because if they can understand that people are different, it'll teach them empathy. It'll teach them kindness for others, and I think that's really important. Anyhow, thank you for watching this video. I know I haven't been around very much this week. I'll try to be back at it next week. Anyhow, I'll see you down the road.